From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, and their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Scripchuk. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode, and my name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Jen.
That's right. We're back on the streak. I think this will be like number 5 or so in a row since you guys messed it up the first time. Anyway, in case you guys aren't familiar with our team, we are trying to get everybody to be better drivers. Hopefully, and one day they'll come out on track with us, maybe go autocrossing, whatever, and they'll realize the joy that they may have been missing by not trying our wonderful sport. Honestly, I'm probably more interested in driving a telemetry than I am in fixing a car. Vicki, she drives really well. And she's enjoying working on a car, so I'm more than enjoying letting her do it. And Jen is focused on her driving, getting more comfortable in the race car, but will help out in every way possible in the car and in the paddock. So with that, we might as well have a guest because we haven't had a guest in a while. So we have representing a relatively new racing driver. We have a guest that we met. He is fairly new to racing. He's done some HPDEs. He's done a race. He has gone to racing school. He was last seen swapping brake pads in our hangar. And we would have seen a lot more of him recently, except for this COVID thing, which is really crowding everything else that's fun in life. And he is an admitted self-avowed never to own a race car and always to be an arrive and drive. We'll see if we can keep him on that path or try to talk him into the dark side of coming in. With that, the morning host of 95.3 DNH, we have Adam Owens. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
We have audio envy from somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
It's all duct tape and good intentions.
That's right.
You're one step away from doing Darth Vader on us, but whatever. It's fine. Be that way. So, Adam, you're good at this. I'm not. I do bad intros. Did I miss anything? Anything that you might, for people who aren't familiar, maybe family, professional, racing?
No, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I've been working at radio stations for a long time, and I've been desperate to drive fast on racetracks for a long time, and I'm finally getting a chance to do it.
There's less flashing lights behind you on a racetrack than there are on the street. So highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, fewer children on skateboards and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, in the paddock area, it may be a higher population density, but they're supposed to be looking and we're supposed to be going slow. So I guess that is fair. But anyway, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks.
Miss Jen.
I will start it off, Adam. How did you get into racing, or how did you get the racing bug?
When I was growing up, I had a buddy who was a couple of years older than me, and he had just enough money to buy himself a car when he got his license, and he bought a big, heavy, powerful rear-wheel drive, kind of American sports car. It was a 70s Malibu, and that thing would light the tires up. And ever since then, kind of been into going fast. Got into a little trouble doing that at one point. In fact, pretty shortly after I got my license, got into a pretty bad accident, actually. And that sort of put the brakes on my driving career. I actually surrendered my license after that for a few years. And for a while, it was just kind of video games. But then I got a car again and started driving on the streets, and kind of realized that if you're going to drive fast, you got to do it safely, you got to remove as many of the dangers as you can and control as many of the elements as you can. And that basically means you're not doing it on a street where there's other people or deer or, crossing traffic or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I decided I wanted to do this. And where do you start, right? And I think one of my first forays into it was probably a rally cross or an autocross, back in my early 20s.
Hmm.
The gateway
So-
drug.
Yeah, it's one of the gateway, one of them. So what kind of cars were you racing?
With autocross, you're just kind of driving your own car most of the time. And I had always had a soft spot for Subarus. And by the time I finally got around to autocrossing, I was driving a 2002. It was like the sort of first year the WRX came to the United States with a turbo. It was a hatchback version, and it was a fun little car to drive and understeered a little bit. But autocross was fun. But there was this sort of seat time thing to it where you do a lot of hurry up and wait, and then your run is a minute and 10 seconds or whatever, and you do 3 or 4 or 5, or if you're lucky 6 of those in a day. And when you're not in the car, you're standing around in the sun, you're working the cones or whatever it might be, and you're sweating, and it's just a lot of working for not a whole lot of going fast. So that was fun, but it kind of, it didn't really hold its appeal. And I started to see guys doing track days and guys doing wheel-to-wheel racing, and that started to look pretty good. But when you're bringing a car to an autocross, there's a certain level of preparation that you really need to do. And when you're bringing a car to a racetrack, there's also a level that you need to do, but it seems to be a little more critical, involved. There's more that can go wrong, so you need to take better care. It's more than just strapping the battery down if you're going to go on a racetrack.
Right.
For sure.
There's an autocross, you might pass tech with, I don't know what, some questionable components, but not to say that autocross isn't ultimately concerned with safety, and believe me, I know they are, but I just feel like the level of preparation, hi kitty cat, for
Sorry.
for a
Special guest.
for a full-on track day, the level of preparation and the level of that you got to kind of have your car sorted out is a little more. Also, the risk is substantially more too. If you're gonna drive your own car to a track day and then expect to drive it home, well, that's kind of putting a lot of faith in you and everyone else on the track not to screw your car up. And sometimes you can drive 100% perfectly, and so can everyone else, and just all the wear and tear and those G-forces on all the parts of your car, something will kind of crack and you won't be able to drive it home. So there's just a deeper level of commitment to get out on a racetrack in a car that you're going to hopefully go home in or with. So that always kind of kept me away from it. I love cars. I'm pretty capable working on them. I was able to kind of muddle my way through brake pads. I've done, CV axles on Subarus before, but I've done enough of them now to know that it's just not my favorite thing to do. Like I don't like working on a car. I don't like breaking my knuckles, getting stuck, shearing the head off a bolt. Then you got to call somebody else to come in and help you with it. Or you got to tow it someplace. Or it's just headaches I don't want to deal with. So I never really had a car that was track worthy. And so at autocross, I do go-karts whenever I could, travel someplace and there was a go-kart track and you can, for $20, you can do, a race for 10 minutes with your buddies. But I never really got onto a racetrack. And I started to see that, there are a few different paths to getting out there. And one of them is if you're just this superb driver that, nails every corner and has a way to eke every millisecond out of a car and then tell all the other drivers how to do it. Everyone wants you to come and drive for them. If you're that guy, if you're that good,
I'm right here. You don't have to.
You got, yeah.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah, so Bill, we got Bill.
Yeah.
Who can drive the car so damn good that everyone wants them on the squad, and they open the doors and they say, Bill, come on, drive our car. We don't care. We want to see what you can do in this sucker. That guy gets to drive all day and he doesn't have to worry about the car.
No, more about me. No.
You can also get yourself onto a racetrack by just being a whiz with the car. If you can fix every nook and cranny of it when it breaks, falls apart, or needs to be upgraded or replaced, then that's a whole set of headaches you don't even have to worry about. If that's a skill that's innate to you that you've got a real good grasp on, if you can work on that car and keep it turning and going, then everyone's going to want you on the team anyway, because, well, this is the guy that's going to fix it when it breaks, and we need this thing running. So he's got a seat.
Yep.
And I'm neither of those guys. I am not Bill, and I'm not the fix it when it breaks guys. Yeah, maybe I can, but I don't really want to. And so I'm not going to be like, I'm not, there's no point in doing something I want to do. So I'm neither of those guys. And so all is lost. Well, no, there's not. It's not, because guess what? Dun, 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 here comes money. So I figured it out. And if you have money, you can do this stuff and not have to worry about fixing it when it breaks. You just have to pay to get it replaced if you break it.
And it's not that much money. I mean, really
depends on what you break, but right.
See,
well, without the breaking,
he would be a perfect runner.
You know what he sounds, how he said there was two kinds. There's like the super driver, and then there's a super mechanic.
Yeah.
There's the third type.
Go on.
Those are all the members of our team. they don't do either, and we still have a great time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I met you, because up until now
we're all lost.
I've been and I told you this. I told you, like, these things cost money to run. These things cost money to enter, to maintain. Tires, brake pads, fuel, whatever it is that needs fixing is gonna cost $1 or $2. And if somebody on the team can throw $1 or $2 at the car, then they can get a seat. And that's kind of how I've been doing it. And so far so good.
No, there's wisdom and some knowledge in there. And honestly, a lot of people who enjoy the type of low dollar endurance racing, especially, there's a large fraction of the people who are way more into the car than they are into the driving. And I'm way more into the driving than I am into the car, but the car is a tool, and and some people say so am I, but that's a different story. So since you're too scared to own your own car, no, I'm just kidding.
Well,
wow.
I'd just rather not. It's like sure, I can replace X, Y, and Z, but if I can pay somebody else so that I don't have to break my knuckles open on it, I'm at a point in my life where that's kind of what I want to do. So I got other things that I want to worry about.
Oh, trust me, I understand fully. So you're relatively new. You've done one race, one or two training events and other things that you've been on track, but you're still relatively new.
Definitely.
But before we get into that part, are there any like goals and dreams or bucket list items that you have on your list that you're like, oh, I wish I could race this car, or I could race this place, or any of those?
No, in fact, I think I've already actually done the bucket list. Going out and doing even just doing my first track day, and then certainly doing my first race, like, bucket list done. Like, and I just want to do it again. I just want to do more of it. So like, and I've kind of gained an appreciation for, when you say, is there any specific car that you want to drive? Like, kind of, no, like, I just want to drive a car on a racetrack, and it's fun if it's a different car and it has a different set of characteristics. I just enjoy the activity and challenge of, running the car at its limit safely and trying to squeeze everything I can out of it. So it doesn't matter what it is, front, rear, all-wheel drive, whatever, fast, slow, I'd be just as thrilled in a spec Miata as I would in a Ferrari F40. I would be a little more thrilled about the Ferrari, but
I hope so. I mean, just a little, but
little.
I mean, the limit is the limit. I mean, that's one thing I've found, and I don't think we've driven anything that was crazy fast. We've driven what I would call fast and various levels of slow, but the limit is really the fun part. And I don't care how fast I go down the straightaway. It's, am I right there in the turn, and am I feeling it? And trying to do the dance there is always the part that I get the most joy out of.
The analogy that I use is my brother and I both got into motorcycles for like a minute way back in the day, and he had a 250 cc and I had a 900 cc, and his bike was so much more fun to drive because you can just tack it out around town, and you're going 35 miles an hour. Like, you just, the limit is so much easier to find when you're not going 90 miles an hour in a 35 zone.
Right. I mean, why I don't ride a motorcycle?
I can think of 1,000 reasons why not to ride a motorcycle.
Because I like it.
Yeah, exactly. because it's as dangerous as it is fun, and it's really fun.
Yes, it is. It is for sure.
So Adam, assuming that COVID is going to get under control, hopefully, what would you think your race season is going to look like? Hopefully. So,
I raced last year, and it was mid-COVID. It was, it was during COVID, and it was with Champ Car / Chump Car. I can't quite tell what the difference is. They kind of, anyway, that might be a whole separate story.
It's Champ.
Okay, it's Champ Car.
It used to be Chump.
And there were protocols in place, and I was pretty pretty pleased to find that everyone took it, pretty seriously and followed the protocols. And whether they agreed with them or not, they sort of said, "Hey, look, this is what we got to do to be here, and we can race if we can follow these rules. So let's follow the rules so we can race." So I'm planning on this year. Hopefully, I'd like to race at 5 races, and I'm fairly confident that that's going to happen. I have some friends who said that, maybe there were too many restrictions in place to race, but I found myself out there racing last year, and so I think it can be done, and it is being done.
Well, it's done, but it's not as much fun as it was.
But I also think, adding on to that, is that this time around, I think this upcoming year, that there's best practices put in place now that people understand and are just not kind of winging it.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a little safer this year, although we have a variant coming down the pike, which we have to be extra cautious about.
Yeah. It's definitely thrown a wrench into the gears for sure. And I guess, you say like that it's made it different, and I don't know any different, I guess. So what am I missing,
Yeah, it's even more fun. I think.
Tell me, like, well, what? No, so, and I've never been to a Lemons race, and actually this year, hopefully, I'm going to be racing with Lemons at least a couple of times. And I've watched a good number of the sort of recap videos, and it seems just like a great time. And then, something that like they have a party in the paddock, right?
Sure.
But that may not happen with
it's
right. So that's kind of
the whole social aspect of it will be a little bit different. That's all.
I think the racing is not impacted much. The paddock areas where the big
sure,
I mean, it's you will enjoy it when it comes back, as will we all.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you kind of developed a little bit of a philosophy when you're kind of going out there and you're learning?
Yeah. Drive your own drive your own line, drive your own race. Don't stick to other people and don't try to follow someone who you're not comfortable following. Again, I'm super new, and I've had one race, and I was blessed to have 20 minutes. Blessed is the wrong word because nobody got hurt. Okay. So anyway, 20 minutes of full course yellow as soon as I went out for my first stint of the day. So I had a good 25 minutes to just drive the track at a reasonable pace, not even trying to maintain any kind of speed. And that was great. I don't expect that's going to happen every time.
Hopefully not.
No.
And you were learning on my favorite track and a very tough track to learn, which was Pittsburgh, because there's a lot
Pittsburgh is tricky.
There's a lot of stuff to it.
I had an opportunity to watch lots of videos of people doing laps at Pitt, and honestly, it didn't prepare me at all for it. There's so much different having the depth perception kind of perspective, feeling the elevation change, feeling the acceleration and deceleration. Yes. And to that end, actually, so was it after I did my event at Pitt? I did just a track day at Watkins Glen, and I had just gotten VR and iRacing going on my computer. So I bought Watkins Glen track, spent the week running it. And then when I got to the track day, at least I knew approximately what to do. And I think that kind of helped my track day start. You start at least a half a step up rather than just being blind to the track. Easily.
And the other thing too is that you don't feel the forces when you're in the car as you're being thrown around. Oh, yeah. And I had a friend, he has since moved out to Colorado, and he only raced basically on video games.
Yeah.
And I was telling him when he was test driving the car just locally, and I'm like, well, go push it, and I'm trying to instruct him being in the seat just locally. And we got back to the paddock, and I'm like, at the airport. Well, back at the airport. And I'm like, do you want me to show you how it's done? So he got in the passenger seat. And I tell you, I took him out on the track and drove like I was on a racetrack. We had the airfield.
Right.
And he got out of the car, bug-eyed, jumping up and down, like trying to shake it off, going, I did not expect the G-forces, not their G-forces, but I didn't expect the forces. I felt like I was going to be thrown out of the car, although I wasn't going to be thrown out of the car. Right. So I understand what you mean. You don't feel that when you're going from iRacing.
Simulators have a couple of tricks up their sleeve to convey the message of the limit, but there's no yet there's no replacement for actually being at it.
Right. Yeah.
So, part of the reason that we started our podcast and we keep going is we're trying to get people who are interested to start maybe performance driving or maybe even racing or just going out and having fun. So, you being relatively new, do you have any thoughts or tips for like what was slowing you down from starting and what it was the first time at the track or first time wheel to wheel?
You offer great perspective on this.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm saying, like I have wanted to do this. I'll be 40 this summer, and I've wanted to do this since I was 16. And the thing that has kept me from doing it all this time is I don't want to take my car onto the racetrack, and I don't want to prepare a car and have to maintain and store and fix and register and trailer and all that. So I don't have a car to drive on the track. That's what's been holding me up this whole time. So finally, I sort of said, screw it. I Googled track day track car rental. And boom, a website popped up. And it's this guy named Jay Menzo. He runs a company in New Jersey called New Jersey Bent Wheel. He's a wheel refinishing guy. And he also owns a couple of track cars that he keeps at New Jersey Motorsports Park in a garage. And you can rent them out for a chunk of money. It's definitely not cheap. But for not having to deal with the car, it was total. And look, finally, it took me this long to get to a point where I had the money to spend on stuff like this. And so to be able to roll in, here's the keys. You must be a novice. So you must take whatever class the track day organizer is hosting that day. You must be in the classroom sessions. You must, have an instructor with you, or actually in COVID situation, we were doing a lot of lead follow, and then they finally let us out with point buys. So the overcoming that barrier of finding a ride, for me, it took me spending money to do. And honestly, I think that I would have done it a decade earlier if I had kind of known that it was even a thing you could do. I didn't know anybody would rent you a track car. I thought you were pretty much on your own, and overwhelmingly you are. But I think more and more there are folks out there who are doing it. And I think I don't know if it's a good business model or not, because there's a lot of, I don't know what liability involved. It's a whole car. It's a big thing to break. But this dude, Jay, he's got a couple of cars that he can maintain, fix, keep running. He knows the ins and outs of them, or he knows guys who do. And it was phenomenal to be able to just go out there and do it and not have to worry about the car.
Yeah.
Well, there is the option of filling a seat that people would be willing to do. They're going out with one guy short, or they just have an availability, and that's how they pay to enter.
Partly.
And that's
they
how
sell
I got
a seat.
Right. So that was my first race, actually. So my first track day was a rental track car, and my first seat was literally a team in Boston that it's a couple of guys, they love to race, and to kind of pay the bills and help get the car back and forth, they'll rent a seat or two, and it's worked great.
Yep.
That's a good perspective.
So far, for your racing series, I guess lessons learned, maybe some prior series leadership.
Okay, so with regard to kind of like the group that I went racing with, or the organization, I guess. So I did my first wheel to wheel was with Champ Car, and I had a chance to actually hang out at a Champ Car race a couple of years prior with a buddy of mine who was on a team, and I kind of got the vibe of Champ Car, I think. And I remember finding out about Lemons. So as far as I can tell, for low dollar wheel to wheel racing, Lemons and then maybe a Champ Car is kind of maybe a half a notch up or something. And I don't want us to do notches and say one is better than the other, because I don't freaking know. But
they'll yell at you on the internet.
Yeah, sure. Everyone will yell at you on the internet for anything you say. But those two seem to be the kind of the low dollar go racing. Certainly Lemons, their whole $500 budget thing, and understandably safety equipment can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and it ought to. But the vibe at Champ Car was serious, friendly, welcoming, but competitive, but I would say not bloodthirsty.
Right.
Lemons, I'm excited to race with because I love adding humor to things. I think that when she funny, I'm sorry if I can't swear. when you just humor brings people together, and I just think that there is a lot of well-deserved seriousness in motorsport, but I also think that a kind of welcoming, warm, funny atmosphere just goes a long way to, I don't know, making people feel welcome and invited and part of something. And, you know, when I see videos of Lemons Ray, everyone's got cool cars, decorations, stuff stuck on the roof. Like, I love it. I just love it. So I'm really excited to check out Lemons this year.
That'll be fun.
I love the idea.
If only there was a team that was near where you lived. Yeah.
And that's how and that's I'm pretty sure how we connected is I went on the Lemons forum and I said, hey, I'm looking for a seat here. I'm in, around Northeast Pennsylvania. Who's out there? And y'all were the only ones who replied. So
we were told to reply. They're like, this guy's near you. You should talk to him. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then I think we did a walkthrough of pit race before you had gone.
This was right before I went to pit, right?
Yeah. Because if there's a track I know, that's one.
And then, so I've also got friends who race with AER, and that seems to be a good step more serious than kind of where I'm at now. And so, honestly, I'm not in this to win races. I'm in wheel-to-wheel racing is exciting to me because it's exciting, but also because it represents the best bang for the buck in terms of seat time.
Mm-hmm.
So at an endurance race, at a track day, you're out on the track for 20 minutes at a time and they bring your run group in. At an autocross, you're out there for 90 seconds, but on an endurance race, you could do a stint for 2 hours. And like, that's what I wanted. Like, I don't go to a racetrack because I want to sit around. I want to drive the car on the racetrack. Like that's what I want to do. So endurance racing seems to be the sort of the most seat time you can get, short of just renting the track for the day and forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple dollars.
Or maybe you get lucky and you score a hangar at an airport and they let you bring the cars out onto the runway every now and then.
It's not luck, it's skill. But anyway.
And build the skill.
Well,
some from column A, some from column B.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Why not both? So kind of looking at it from you're relatively new, having a great time, but you wouldn't say you were an experienced wheel-to-wheel racing driver at this point yet. But
no.
Like when you first went out on track, what were some of the things that you kind of expected, or things you get out there and you're like, whoa, didn't expect that? Or how did it feel to be out there that first time?
Surprises, or did it meet my expectations? I was, but and there's sort of two levels. Again, first time going out on a track day, a little nervous. First time going out for my first stint in the champ car, bombs going off in my stomach, nervous, like just incredibly topsy-turvy. But pretty quickly settled down, and I was expecting I knew I was going to be getting passed all day, and I did get passed all day, and I thought that the experience of being passed was going to be a little more terrifying than it was. And they sort of tell you to be predictable, just sort of stick to your line and do what you probably would be expected to do, and then other people, if they're going to be making the pass, it's up to them, kind of. But it's a two-person transaction, truthfully. And so, I don't want to say it came naturally, but it was instinctive to be keeping an eye on my mirrors, and you can pick up on the sound of a new exhaust note coming behind you, and you kind of know that, okay, here's somebody. And that, I don't want to jinx it or anything, but it worked pretty smoothly. Being a car on a track in a race where you're certainly not anywhere near the leader of the pack, it's okay. It wasn't so bad.
Well, once you were past a couple hundred times on your first lap, you got used to it, and it just became natural, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I would never take it for granted. That whole situational awareness thing is, phenomenally important. And in the minute or two that I was riding motorcycles, I learned to just assume that every car, A, cannot see you, and B, is aiming for you.
Pretty accurate. So so you went out there, I think your stints were even longer than what we had talked about. I think what was your first stint? Do you remember? It was pretty long. Hour and a half, maybe?
Does longer stints, but something had gotten a little screwy, and they shifted stints around, and so they broke us up into two shorter stints for the day.
Mhm.
I was actually, that's something I was concerned about. Is I had done a endurance go-kart race with some friends, and it was a 6-hour race, and we split it up into, I think, 20 or maybe 25-minute stints. And after 25 minutes on a go-kart, I was bushed. And I was a little concerned. I thought, like, you want me to be in the car for 90 minutes, 2 hours these guys are in the car for?
Mhm.
And I'm pleased to report that it is nowhere nearly as physically demanding as go-karting.
Mhm.
And 90 minutes, no problem. I could have gone 2 hours. I probably could have gone longer, but I fully also am aware of just not necessarily a physical fatigue, but mental and emotional fatigue.
Yeah, the go-kart's more physical, and the endurance racing is more mental, I would think. And mental and hydration are the two issues, really.
Yeah, I could see that being a problem too. Oh yeah, actually, I also learned a pro tip. Coffee, just stay away from coffee on race day.
Well, it'll stay
Give
away
you
from
the
you.
jitters.
No, it's a diuretic. It makes you have to pee.
A whooshing sound, and it's not the car going by. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you feel safe in the vehicle?
So that's a really great point, and that's the flip side to the rental car coin, right? Is you're trusting somebody else to maintain and safety prep the vehicle, and you might not know what to look for. You might not know where on a roll cage if a backing plate needs to be installed, and if one properly was. You really kind of put your life into somebody else's. It would be like renting an airplane as a private pilot, instead of owning your own. I mean, you're really putting your life into someone else's hands. So you got to be a little choosy with who you decide to drive with, I guess, and whose money you just who decides to take your money. Hi, Kitty.
Kitty,
I love it.
This is Taco.
Taco.
The other one was Belle.
So, again, I'm pleased to report that so far so good. Like the teams that I've worked with and the schools that I've done, I've felt really safe with. And you know what? I'll also be honest, things have gone wrong. But when that is a guarantee. In
it's
life.
Not if, it's when.
Yeah, in life, and certainly in motorsport, and the stakes are high in motorsport. And things do go wrong, and you kind of have to anticipate that, and you have to be ready to. There was one instance in a car where suddenly some kind of an electrical short happened, and I was out on the track, and the cabin filled with dense white smoke.
Oh, geez.
Blind. I was 100% blind. And I thought immediately, okay, here's the sequence I'm going to need to go through to unbuckle, kill the gas, hit the kill switch for the car, pull the net down and get out. Am I going to need to do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the smoke cleared. Okay, I can roll the car out, and it was okay. But it's you're a member of the transaction, especially when you're in the car and you're the one in control. And there are things that you're not necessarily in control of. So you're going to have to be prepared for sort of the worst. And so part of that's on you, I think, when you go and have a rental agreement with someone. Is if you have a question or a concern about safety, bring it up, talk about it, ask the question until you're satisfied with the answer, and for certain, practice getting out of the car. I feel like that's can't be overstated. And the sequence of moves you need to do to safely get out of the car and shut down any, I don't know what fuel pumps that you might need to shut down on the way out is something you need to be able to do in the dark, with upside down in 10 seconds or whatever, and in fact, I'm sure there are some standards in some racing groups, specify you must be able to exit the vehicle in 20 seconds or less. Go, and that's part of your tech inspection for all I know.
It can be. What did you guys do when you were, like, how did you practice that? Because the car you're getting into may be the first time you've been in that car.
So, in particular, the Champ Car event I did, I rolled in a day early as the team was getting set, and they had the car right out there, and they said, "Okay, get in the car. Here's how you buckle up. Okay, here's how you get out. Show us." And they made me show them that I could do it. And I then, did it a few more times just to be sure for myself. But I feel like that's, I would not want to arrive and drive like, I don't know, how would you say it? A hot car, right? Like you roll up to the track, get your wristband. 30 minutes later, the guy's pulling off of his stint and you're jumping in for yours. Unless it's a car again. So there's your benefit to owning a car, I guess. You know how to get out of it every time.
Maybe. Yeah.
What else you got?
So it's always good, like if you also arrive and they have availability to be on the track before the race, so you
absolutely.
can get used to the car. That is something you really should take advantage of if you're an arrive and drive.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more.
So just to back up just a little bit for, I guess, some of our listeners that would maybe be thinking about doing an arrive and drive or rent a seat. Can you just kind of go through what the process is, like what they would do if they were just sitting on the couch and picked up their phone and said, I want to do this? What some things that maybe they would need, or how the transaction went?
Yep. So, I mean, again, there's sort of two levels to this. There's the track day, and then there's the race, the wheel to wheel. And they're two very different animals. Certainly they're, they live in the same forest or whatever. But for either of them, I mean, it starts with finding the provider, I guess, for lack of a better word. And how do you do that? Google, I guess. I mean, I Googled track car for rent near me, and it popped up Jay in New Jersey. Thank God. Now, elsewhere in the country, I have no idea. But again, Google's a good place to start. And then for the seat in Champ Car, I actually went onto the Champ Car website. They have a section of arrive and drive teams buried somewhere on their website. It's pretty easy to find, actually.
Most of the series do.
Yeah. And from there, basically, you kind of start to look through them, and each team will describe themselves, briefly or more in depth. And it almost, gives you a little flavor for the team. They'll tell you about their car. They might tell you that if they, keep a lot of spares on hand or not. From there, it's either usually an email or two, and then a phone conversation, certainly. And, for somebody with zero experience, it's not any team that's going to be welcoming you with open arms, but there are teams who are just fine with, I mean, the team that I raced with probably would have been okay with me coming to race, even if I hadn't done a track day, as long as I had a pretty reasonable conversation with the sort of team management. And I can't don't quote me on that. I maybe go ahead and strike that from the podcast. We're going to go and delete that forever. No, I'm kidding. But
more editing.
No, don't edit it.
I know, I'm just messing. Each team has different expectations.
Every team is going to have a different expectation, and teams will make that pretty clear too in their description. So hopefully you don't wind up calling teams that are like, no, we need a 5-year veteran before you're even considered for a seat. And back to the what cool car is it going to be? Doesn't matter. It does not matter. If this is your first time, the cheapest, slowest, it doesn't even matter. Don't
worry about safety.
Yeah, you're not there to win your first time out.
No.
And the people that are bringing you on realize they're not out there to win either.
Right. Yeah. You're there to learn how to get past.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe pass a couple, but
I did some overtaking. I'm pleased to report. I had a couple of good moves.
There you go.
Now you have all of your own equipment and everything that you brought, your suit, helmet, gloves.
So when I first started doing this, I did not want to buy the whole kit because I didn't know if I was going to like it or not. And I saw that the kit would cost you anywhere between, I don't know what, $800 and $8,000, depending on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole.
Get deeper too.
Yeah.
There's no limit.
So guess what else you can rent besides a track car? You can rent the whole suit. There's a guy in, I forget where, it's Illinois or something, but if you just Google again, fire suit for rent or race suit for rent, I think it's racesuitrental.com. This guy you send him all your measurements, or you kind of pick out all the sizes of all the different pieces of gear, and he FedExes you a bag stuffed with your suit, your helmet, your shoes, your gloves, your whatever. You buy the socks and the underwear from him if your series requires them. Hi, Kitty. And it just shows up in the mail along with a return shipping label. So then 2 days later, when you're done your event, you pop it right back to him, and you leave him like a $500 deposit, but he gets it right back to you. And for the first couple of events, I just rented my gear, and it works beautifully. And then finally,
I did
is
not
awesome.
know.
that was, I'm telling you, like, to be able to do this without, the barriers are slowly coming down. And I felt like I said, I'm 40 now. I wanted to do this since I was 16, but I felt like there were too many barriers kind of keeping me from doing it. And I feel like those barriers are finally starting to come down.
Mhm.
And especially with series like Lemons and teams like the one that I'm with that just kind of open their arms to newcomers. It's so nice to be welcomed into something like this.
So I got two questions. One more curiosity, and one more. It's actually a suggestion and a question. When you made the joke about the renting of underwear, is that because you don't think you need them, or because you like racing commando? I'm just curious.
No, the underwear you must purchase. You cannot. There's no.
Okay.
You
All right,
do not
very
return the underwear. You purchase it, and
No, try to buy.
was it? Oh no, it was. I think it was socks, and because I have a beard, you need the balaclava.
Balaclavas are awesome.
Yeah, so I had to buy those.
And then next time when you're in a car that's not ours, or next time you're in a car that is ours, doesn't really matter. You should practice getting out of the car with everything suited up, but we're going to stuff a towel in your helmet
So I can't see.
So you can't see.
And so I'm a little extra uncomfortable, and actually one of the steps, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that my visor was not completely down and sealed for most of the time when I was driving. There was a little crack in it to let some air in.
Sure.
But if you pull the fire lever,
Mm-hmm.
before you pull that lever, you really ought to throw your mask shield down, because if that thing's sprayed, those things are usually aimed at the driver and the engine, and you don't want to have an eyeball full of that stuff as you're trying to extract yourself.
You don't want the extra degree of difficulty. No, you do not.
Mhm.
Good luck remembering to do that in the heat of the battle.
No problem.
That's right.
Piece of cake.
So, what did you see that was surprising, and what did you learn when you were out there? Do you have any aha moments at all, or things that just started to knit together?
It was all one long aha moment. Just, it was I did 2 stints, which was great because, the first stint was really a mess, and I was just
They usually are.
yeah, I was amazed. I kept it pointing in the right direction. And then the second stint, I went out there and immediately I was like, I knew the track. I knew what I was about to do. I had this immediate sense of, focus and determination that was gone the first time around. So that was great to feel.
New tracks are when you first hop on a new track, it's very disorienting.
Yeah.
Because what you think is upcoming, it might not be the turn that you're thinking it is, and you're prepping for something different. So, newbies going out on a track, that's not uncommon.
I was excited at the moments where I could find myself gaining on the guy in front of me, where it was clear that I had picked a better path through whatever we were doing than homie up front. And he would pull right back away from me. But for a moment there, it was clear that I had done something right. And having that instant feedback of gaining a little bit, and you see the guy gets just a little bigger in front of you, you kind of go, okay, that was a cool thing. And a lot of that would happen for me during moments when I was just flat on the throttle, and I was watching other guys either lift or even breathe on the brake pedal a little bit. And I was kind of thinking to myself, what are these guys doing? You can be flat out through here. And so I think I loved finding those spots on the track where you can just hold the gas down and lean through the turns and just maintain. And, the more time you spend at the end of on pit race, I guess it's the back straight, the more time you can spend banging off the rev limiter in your top gear before you finally have to brake for that real tight turn. I mean, just like every millisecond you can spend on the limiter there is I don't know, it's like it's heaven. It's like you're doing the right thing.
Look, he's getting all jazzed already. Look at him. He's feeling the moment.
Yep, I can see that.
So I know you waited till you were older to start, but wanted to when you were little.
But still much younger than us. So.
Still way much younger than us.
You're starting earlier than we did.
Yeah. Would you have any recommendations for anybody as far as like maybe starting younger, or what should they do? Should they start with like a an autocross, or should they watch videos first? Or everybody I kind of feel has a different approach on how they get into it, but I guess what would your opinion be?
I mean, I always like to think like, just like act the part, do the thing, like just do it,
Just say yes.
Yeah. So that might mean just going to an autocross, and there are still barriers. Like, I'm super jazzed because I can finally rent a race car, but it's not cheap, and I've just finally gotten myself to a point where I'm making a couple of bucks and can afford to do it. So if you can't do the money thing, then there's a few of these other paths, and one of them being the great driver. Well, you're not really born the great driver. You kind of have to get there somehow. So that's a little bit of a chicken and the egg thing. Maybe you just get great at working on cars and you make yourself invaluable in the garage, and then you kind of it's being in the right place at the right time, but having the right set of skills, or I guess enough money to spend.
Just the desire to do it.
The other thing that a lot of people do, especially college, you're basically barely making a living.
Yeah.
Living from ramen to ramen.
Yep.
Ramen to ramen, right?
So
beef to chicken to shrimp.
It was hard-boiled eggs and sardines on crackers when I was in college.
Very well. But the one thing you could do is, a lot of the series that run at races, they need a lot of volunteers to, flag workers, work the grid, set up pits, things like that.
Yep.
You can do a trade of your time where you work a few and then you get one for free, and that's another path to getting out there. So
but I would just sort of say, like, be sure that if that's the kind of path you want to do, be clear with whoever you're engaging with that's the deal. Like, you can certainly go and hang out at racetracks and be friendly and be nice, and that might be it. But if you're going to sort of get a seat in a race car, it's a pretty particular arrangement that you have to make with somebody for them to trust you to get into their car and wing it around a track with other cars out there, especially. So
sure, be
clear.
Yep. And I was referring to if you're going to bring your car.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So just to get onto the track with the group. So that's one of the ways that we've seen people do it.
So have you had any good, bad, ugly situations? Some that might have been especially like, I can't believe that happened, that was pretty awesome, or that was scary, or that was really hilarious?
I've long ago, when I was dipping my toe into autocrossing, like, early 2000s now, there was more than one autocross that I was at where a shouting match developed, usually over some interpretation of the rules or why someone had broken them. And it would be between two guys inevitably. And it made clear to me that there's motorsport requires demands and is very good to type A personalities, but type A personalities aren't always good to each other. And hostile attitudes can erupt when pressure mounts, and that can be challenging to be around and unpleasant. It can actually turn people away from an otherwise great experience. Seriousness is absolutely always necessary, and safety is 1,000% worth paying attention to. But I tend to find that the louder you have to raise your voice to reach somebody, the less effectively you're reaching them. And it can just be challenging for some people who aren't at home in situations like that. This is not a language that I speak so great, shouting. And I was never at the center of any of these. I just watched them happen from the sidelines, and I kind of go like, oh, that's the kind of people that hang around these things. And that is not exclusively the kind of people that hang around these things by any stretch, but it's out there, and it can present itself. On the flip side of that, and I think more and more, like I sort of said when I went racing with Champ Car, like, I've just found welcoming arms and people who are excited to have newcomers and excited to show people the ropes. So not to say that, like, everybody at a racetrack is going to be screaming at each other, but like, it can happen. And at the same time, there are ways around it. The day that I went wheel to wheel racing for the first time, midway through the day, one of the guys breaks out it's like a toaster oven, like an electric toaster oven, except it's specifically designed for hot dogs. Have you seen one of these? Like
Mm.
you put the 2 hot dogs in it, and then the 2 buns go on the side.
Oh,
and you push the lever
yeah.
down, right? Right. So he breaks one of these things out, and he's got hot dogs and buns and ketchup and mustard, and we're all just sitting there, and cars are screaming by on the track. It smells like tires. Someone's refueling 5 pit stalls down, and we're just like having hot dogs in the middle of all this, and it was just wonderful. And like having this little kind of taste of, you've got this, all these tools and all this equipment, and then just like having like a hot meal in the middle of all of it, it was just really fun and funny, and I liked it a lot.
I love it. I love it. Well, okay, so we are going to move on to our next segment, which is a traditional one. It's called the Fast and Furious Storytime Questions. We get to know you just a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, these are
are
kind
these
of
the
fun.
questions that you sent me in advance, which I've had a long time to prepare for?
Really? You sent them on, Bill?
No.
Okay. 'Cause sometimes Bill.
No,
Yeah.
but they could have been.
All right, we're going to have Jennifer start it off.
I will start it off. So the first is a 2-part question. What was your first car, and what was the worst car you've ever had?
Okay. The first car that I owned was a 1989 Subaru RX. Now, this was sort of a weird one. It's tough to find these things. And I think it's essentially it's either a DL or a GL hatchback. And this was back when Subaru was making real honest to God 4-wheel drive vehicles instead of all-wheel drive. It had a 5-speed transmission. It was a hatchback. It had this big sort of curved glass dome back. And so it was this sort of GL hatchback, except it had an aero kit on it. So it had a front air dam and a rear spoiler and side ground effects. It had these gold hubcaps. It was this little 1.8 liter turbo and a 5-speed manual, dual range, locking center diff transmission. This was absolutely a like baby brother to the sort of modern day STI with its driver controlled center diff and all that stuff. I drove that thing literally into the ground, had an absolute blast with it. We made a dirt track in the field next to my parents' house when I was growing up, and they were not happy about that, but we had a blast. And the worst car that I ever owned, I can't really answer. I've loved all my cars. I wish I still had every one of them.
We've had that answer before. There is not a car that they hate. So yeah.
Not a, the car that gave me the most trouble was and by the way, I've only ever owned Subarus. I've just got a soft spot for them. The one that gave me the most trouble was my 1992 SVX, which was this really sweet sort of like highway cruiser. I wouldn't call it a sports car, but it was like a pretty sporty looking sedan. It had a flat 6,
Tiny side windows.
Yeah, tiny side windows, the same windows which you will find on the DeLorean, actually, because the same guy designed the body for both cars. The weak point in the SVX was its transmission. So it was this big, heavy car. It had this big, torquey engine, and it was using the same automatic transmission as every other Subaru ever. And that transmission was just not up to handling the weight and the torque and the this and that generated by that car. So it would just kind of blow 3rd and 4th gear pretty reliably. So some guy, and it was never offered with a 5-speed, which I'm sure would have been more than enough to handle 230 foot-pounds of torque. So some guys do 5-speed swaps on them, but mine was only an automatic. And so it shot 3rd and 4th gear, and I had to drive home at 5,500 RPM one night.
So what is one thing that no one knows about you that would surprise them?
One that no one knows about me? Like, well, one?
Maybe.
No one listening.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's something. Gosh.
It could be very few people know.
I don't even know. I don't even know where to go with this. No one knows about. Well, geez. I don't know. There's 1,000 things I could say. I don't even know. The one thing that's coming to mind is that I was in a really, really bad car accident when I was 16, and I learned an incredibly valuable lesson. And I think that everyone should learn that lesson without facing the potential consequences that I faced. It was really bad, and it could have been a lot worse. Fortunately, everybody made it out alive, but I was on public roads driving like an idiot, and it was a huge mistake. And a lot of people go through their life doing stuff exactly like I did, and it just doesn't catch up with them. You know, they make it through the turn, or they make it over the little jump in the road, or whatever it might be, and you know, they just go on throughout the rest of their lives. But every now and then it'll catch up to somebody, and it really caught right up to me. And I just hope that it never has to catch up to you or anybody else that you love.
Absolutely.
Good answer.
So a lot of people can trace it back to there's this concept called a taproot car. It's the car that got you into cars. It could be a model, it could be a Hot Wheels, it could be the next door neighbor's car, it could be, you already have an answer.
I have two. Oh, you see me nodding on the video chat?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Well, it could
Shut
be
up,
two,
Bill. Let me talk now.
It could be two, the easy answer is, you know, I got Gran Turismo for PlayStation, and I was into Subarus, so I was like, oh, let's check out the Subaru store. What's this blue car with gold wheels, 22B? Huh? Look at that front air dam. Look at those headlights. Wow. How many horsepower? You know, like the perfect, look at these side fender flares. My God. So, I mean, yeah, finding the WRX and STI and the hatchback variants and the sedans and the 2 doors and the 4 doors in Gran Turismo before we had any inkling that those things, that was before there was a turbo Impreza in the United States. Gran Turismo was, I don't know, probably 99, maybe 2000. Mm-hmm. And the first turbo Impreza was 02. And, you know, Europe had gotten WRXs and STIs since 1992, I think, and we missed out on all those really iconic, awesome cars. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much the one. But I got to say though, my buddy who got a car when he was 16 and I was 13, that 76, big Chevy with the 350. I mean, that thing was a beast, and it will forever hold a very special place in my heart.
That's okay. We'll get you out of the Subaru thing soon. Don't worry. But go ahead.
So, and I mean, being around race cars and being in race cars now has instilled in me a respect for, I sort of said this a little earlier, like, it doesn't matter what the car is. It just matters that it's got the necessary safety equipment and you're in it and your run group is out. Like, it doesn't matter what the car is. If you're on a racetrack, you are on a racetrack. It doesn't matter what you're in. So
you shouldn't wait until your turbo gets installed, or your underglow lights get installed, or your new set of rims. You should just get off the sofa and just do it.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. Make it happen.
Okay.
All right. Next question is, what is that car from your family that sticks out in your mind?
So the reason I have a soft spot for Subarus is because my mom always had a white Subaru wagon ever since I can remember. She actually, right when they had me, she had a Renault Le Car. You know these things?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, those things, I love them. Little roller skate. But basically for my entire childhood and growing up, she always had a white Subaru station wagon. And so in particular, the one that I remember the most clearly, I forget what year exactly it was. It's probably like a 93 or a 94, but it was a white Subaru wagon, legacy wagon. Even before Outbacks, it was just a legacy wagon.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
So how about a stick, automatic, paddles, or don't care?
Stick shift all day, every day. The only car that I've ever owned that was not a stick was that SVX, because it was never available with one. Paddle shit, okay, so let me tell you this though. When I did my rental track day, I was talking with this guy Jay, who had these cars for rent, and he says to me, I said to him on the phone, I said, so what car am I going to go in? And he says, oh, you're going in a E46 M3. And I just kind of like went, what? And I know I've been saying this whole time, like, it doesn't matter what the car is, but Jesus, an E46 M3, like, to a car guy who's never been on a racetrack before, like, that's the car. Like, that's
not a bad starting spot.
That was a great start. And I sort of said, well, I'm cool with the heel toe. And he said, no, it's got the paddle shift. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, cool. That's okay. That's fine. And I can heel toe kinda, and I've been driving a stick my whole life. I'm comfortable with it. And I was ready to do it on the track, but being on the track for the first time in an automatic transmission car, I can unequivocally say, for your first time on a racetrack, do that. Don't worry about the gear shifting. It is just one more link in the chain that you could mess up and kind of find yourself cooked a little too hot into a corner, whatever. Just take that out of the equation when you go out on a track for the first time, even if you are Mr. Heel Toe around town. Like just don't worry about the transmission when you're on a track for the first time.
Yeah, Jen didn't have that option.
Yeah, you might not. And paddle shifts are a little questionable. That E46 paddle shift is a proper sequential manual gearbox. I mean, that's really what it is. And a lot of paddle shift cars it's just an automatic transmission with a couple of little buttons hooked up to it. But so it doesn't quite have the same feel and mechanical abilities as a real manual.
Yeah, it especially your first time out, it lowers the complexity and the number
really
of things
does.
you got to think about. Yep. All right. One of our newer questions: do your cars have names?
That SVX did. I don't know why, but it did. But no, other than that, no, they don't.
Okay. Very well.
Yeah.
So,
good question.
It is.
I'm sure you get some pretty good answers to that too.
Yeah. It's a good one. There it is, Jen.
Sorry. My phone was ringing, so I'm just trying to mute it so you don't have to edit too much. But
oh, you're fine. Don't worry.
Forget it now. So do you have a favorite race car driver?
I don't really. I got to say, kind of no. I don't really follow it that closely, and it's sort of the same way I feel about. A lot of people get really into music and they follow musicians really closely, and they're very, they attention to every detail of this musician's life. And when they release a new piece of material, whatever, I do like music, but I much prefer making it to, following someone. And I do love listening to it for sure, but I would rather play the music myself and create the music myself. Similarly, I know that I have, millions, untold scores of people who are better at driving cars fast than me, and people to whom I should look up, respect, and try to emulate. And for sure that's a fact, but I'm my favorite driver because I want to do this and I'm doing it.
That a lot of people say that. I mean, I think, inherent in trying this is being more of a doer than a watcher.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a chance to, I'm on the internet. I don't know if you heard of it. It's this wonderful invention.
I heard about it. It's
argue
new.
with strangers, say things we later regret. But no, I've been, you watch YouTube and you see all kinds of different people who have, channels and videos and things. And I've occasionally encountered this guy, Randy Popst, who just seems like my kind of guy. Like he's just got this joie de vivre, like he's just got this glimmer in his eye. And he's been doing this for a minute or two, and he's just still like a kid in a candy store about it.
Luckily for you, about 3 or 4 podcasts ago, we just had Randy come on for the second time. So
and that's the thing. I have a pretty good inkling he is, sort of automotive royalty or motorsport royalty. And he just seems like the kind of guy who will just, have a beer or a chat with anybody.
He even talks to us.
I was just nothing, not to speak poorly of you guys. No, he'll talk to anybody, even the garage heroes.
He felt bad the first time because our car broke while he was driving. So,
hey, but that's motorsport.
Hey, get somebody on our podcast. We'll take it.
Yep. So, what do you think about a front wheel, rear wheel, or 4-wheel drive, or doesn't it matter?
It depends on the application, I guess, for getting the groceries or whatever, for motorsport or for autocross, or for if you're gonna have a car that does both, maybe. It's rear wheel drive seems like the standard for motorsport, in particular mid-engine rear wheel drive, but there's not a whole heck of a lot of those out there. So front engine rear wheel drive seems to be the sort of default layout. I have only had experience with front engine rear wheel drive cars on racetracks, so I don't know what it'd be like in a front wheel drive car. And I feel like an all wheel drive car on a racetrack is too much extra weight and unnecessary equipment. And maybe if you have cutting edge equipment, you can get a performance advantage. But I just feel like, and I don't know this for a fact, so
It's good
I
in
don't
the
know.
rain.
Yeah, I bet it is actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Of course, rear wheel drive is infinitely more fun. Once it starts to get a little loose.
Sounds like your answer is yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Jan.
I'm sorry. There's a work thing. Where are we at?
Well, no, let's get the work
Fast.
thing involved.
No, that's okay.
No, it's a school nurse. She doesn't want to get the work
They're
thing involved.
No,
texting
let's
me.
It's a COVID situation.
HIPAA. All right, now I understand.
The car that got away, is that one?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
So
I got one.
I'm trying to follow. So what's that car that got away?
Yeah. Okay, I got one. I still think about this. I was, like I said, I'm almost 40 now. I was 18, maybe 19, 20. And there was this car for sale out in front of someone's house right near where I worked. And I drove by it several times and I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. And it looked cool. And it had that sort of 80s wedgy, kind of maybe flip up headlights, maybe not, kind of like an older Honda Accord-ish kind of. And I finally stopped. It was for sale, and I got to look at it. It looked really cool, and I still couldn't figure it out. And the guy comes out, and I'm like, "So, what is it?" And he says, "It's an Isuzu Impulse." And I was like, "Isuzu?" Like I knew Isuzu made some pickup trucks, maybe. So this, and so the Impulse was this little hatchbacky, pretty small Isuzu. And I think Isuzu and Geo maybe did some business together and shared the same mark. And so I don't know if this was the same as a Geo Storm or not, but the Impulse was available in a variety of drivetrains, as I later found out. I think there were some front wheel drive ones. I think there were some all wheel drive ones. And this one was rear wheel drive, turbo, suspension by Lotus, according to a little badge on the side of the car. And the guy let me take it out for a test drive, which might have been the biggest mistake of his life because I immediately got that thing sideways around at least a few corners near his house. And he probably heard me doing it. That car was such a blast. And I will forever regret not finding the way to afford it. And it was definitely the car that got away. Although back then, if I had bought that car, it might not still be here today because I might not have had the appreciation for it. But really cool car.
Awesome.
It's a little early in your driving career, but you had your first season last year and your off season. And what are you thinking that you need to? What areas are you going to work on, either during the off season or going into next year? And how are you going to be working on them?
I mean, I feel like my goal is literally just to get there, get out on the track, not wreck the car, and come back. I think, I'm hoping to do 5 events this season. And if by the 5th event, I can say that I haven't royally screwed anything up or pissed anybody off, and I can start to confidently make some moves to overtake people, I will feel very accomplished.
Oh, that's good. I mean, especially, you've got an HPDE background, you've done some autocross, you've done some track days, and you're just really getting into your wheel to wheel. And then, you wouldn't want to say, well, I need to come in on a podium or something like that.
No. God, no. I just want to go have fun, not piss anybody off. And, again, maybe get myself to the point where I'm taking a few more chances and feeling a little more confident about taking them. I think that, my first times out there, I was just focused on being safe. I was not really taking chances. I was, waiting until I had a very easy way through a situation before I would move through it. And, you see the guys who are confident doing this, they just sail right past you and they maintain that momentum. So to be able to feel a little bit of that would be really nice.
At the same time, though, it's an endurance race, so you don't really want to push like the 1% edge. You can afford to be a bit choosy. You've got time.
Yep. Right. Exactly. Yeah. You don't. I looked at sort of SCCA racing, and there's more of a sprint format, and the race is 20-25 minutes long in total often. And
yep.
I feel like I'm just getting warmed up kind of. And again, if I'm going to spend the time and the money to go to the racetrack, I want to be in the car for as long as I possibly can.
Oh,
endurance racing sounds like your plan.
Yeah.
Adam, what was the fastest you ever driven? Did you clock yourself?
No, I mean,
Was it a pit race?
no, it was at Watkins Glen. It was, yeah, a pit race. I was in an E30 318. Yeah, a BMW 318. So very small, 1.8 liter, the smallest, lightest, slowest BMW of that vintage, I would probably say. Race prep, so it was gutted. It was as light as it could be.
You might have been able to beat the diesel, maybe.
Yeah. But then I did a track day, a month later at Watkins Glen. And when I had done simulator racing at Watkins Glen, I noticed that remember a little while earlier in the interview, you may remember from earlier in this very podcast, I was just finding joy in these moments of leaving the throttle on the floor for as long as possible. And at Watkins Glen, you do a lot of that. Watkins Glen, I quickly learned, was a very fast track. And a buddy of mine let me drive his car there, and it was an E46 M3. And that straight six just pulls up that hill. And he the day after the track day, my buddy called me up, and he said, yeah, by the way, I forgot to tell you, we haven't put the bracing on the plexi windshield yet. So when you get the car up to around 130, the windshield kind of bends in. And I said, yeah, I figured that out on the way up the hill towards the bus stop. It was sort of like, you're going that fast, and on the way up the hill at Watkins Glen to the bus stop, I mean, the car has been at full throttle pretty much since you came off of the front straight.
Yep.
And looking down at the speedometer takes precious milliseconds that I could not afford to spend. So the speedometer became the windshield, and once it bows in, you've got it going pretty damn good. Yeah. So it was probably 130. And, I love when people ask you, oh, what's the fastest you've ever been? And it's like, well, it's about 700 miles an hour. It's a takeoff speed of a fully laden, 747 or whatever. So we've all been plenty fast, but being in control of a car at 130 miles an hour is pretty remarkable.
Who were you with at Watkins Glen?
It was a day with Hooked on Driving.
No,
okay.
That's not it. Who were you with? 'Cause Vicki will be surprised.
Oh, I was with one of the guys on Safety Third Motorsports.
Oh, wow. I like Safety Third. They're
these guys are great. These guys actually are the guys that took me along to a Champ Car race 2 or 3 years ago. I went out with them just to kind of not ride shotgun, I guess, but just to kind of hang out for the day, check tire pressures.
Aren't they great guys?
They really are. And again, these people with kind of like open arms that are thrilled to take on somebody who has no clue what the hell's going on. Just bless their hearts.
Yeah,
you'll find a lot of that in racing.
Yeah,
it is.
You really will.
A bunch of good people, especially Safety Third was one of the better teams that we've met there.
I still have one of their shirts in my drawer.
No, we don't even have a shirt yet. We'll get one. John, where's our
you
John?
One upped. John.
We need to do a swag change. I've got some Garage Heroes stuff for you.
Actually, we're going to be seeing him this weekend.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
We hope so.
Yep.
Yeah, he's coming over.
All right, Bill, this is usually your question.
I know we got off sequence this time.
I can go and ask it. You want me to ask it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So there's a desert island that Bill has so graciously
it's coming.
bought,
It's coming.
Yes. And it has a track on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like to know what would be your top 5 cars that you would pick to go and race on this desert island.
We want to be a good host to our podcast guests, so you get to request 5 cars. So the Subaru Outback, and then the Subaru Brat, and then the Impreza Turbo 2.5 maybe, and then SVX. We'll get you that. Well, I can't figure out what the 5th one will be though.
No, for driving on it. So this is a and tell me a little bit more about the circuit. Is it a technical circuit? Is it a high speed circuit?
Well, we have
is there dirt on it?
We have a dirt track as well.
Now we're talking.
And we also, in case you're into go-karts or have guests who are into go-karts, we have go-karts as well. So pretty much, if you need it, it's there. Because when we win the lottery, and it's the only thing stopping us is we don't play. When we win the lottery, it's going to be amazing. So just whatever you need, just let us know.
I just like, if I could any 5 car, geez, 5 car, geez. I don't know, guys. I mean, some cars are coming to mind, so I guess I might as well say it.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed every Miata I've ever driven.
I love Miatas.
I have enjoyed
now.
I have enjoyed every E46 M3 I've ever driven, whether with a sequential or traditional gear shift. I have always wanted to have a Ferrari F40 in my life, and I know that'll never happen. And if it does, the police will come breaking through my door moments later.
It'll break, don't worry.
Yeah, it'll break, and I won't be able to fix it or anything. But it just that car forever has held a tremendous amount of, I don't know what, fantasy and esteem. So that's what, 1, 2, 3. I really I love how little energy is required to motivate a car that doesn't weigh very much. So when the Ariel Atom came out, I was very interested. And it's, you can get a little 2-liter Honda Civic motor to make that thing scream, because it weighs 100 kilos or whatever it is. So I'd love an Ariel Atom. And by the way, we're gonna have to get like 5 of each of these so we can all have like serious spec races together.
That's not. We had one person who said they wanted 5 spec Miatas, so don't worry. We're
right. Well, that was kind of let's like get all my friends. And that, again, I have one car left, and I don't really know. I feel like an Acura NSX, like in a sort of a, late 90s vintage in lovely condition, maybe red would be a good.
We have friends who have a late 90s red NSX.
Oh,
yes,
great.
Yeah. Someday they'll bring it up.
Do they race it, or do they drive it on the street?
Yes.
Oh, brave.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Not so much race, mostly street.
So Adam, what car would you especially like to race on a racetrack? Because we know you don't build them.
But if somebody was to build you a car,
somebody was to build me a car,
or you had an opportunity to race,
any port in a storm, honestly, a spec Miata, a spec E30, literally anything. You hand me the keys, if the belts and harnesses and roll cage pass the safety tech, and the brakes are good, and my helmet's up to date, like, I don't care.
So your favorite car is the next car?
I don't
he's
exactly,
he's a put me in coach kind of guy.
Yeah, I've got a friend who has a Subaru BRZ, which is about the only Subaru that I think is reasonably equipped for the track, because it's only 2-wheel drive. But they've got a BRZ with an LS swap in it. Oof. And that sounds like it's got to be fun.
Oh yeah, just the regular one's fun. I've driven it many times.
Sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're muted, honey.
You're muted again, Jen.
What's happening is all the schools are calling now to let kids know that tomorrow is going to be a remote day, so the phone's constantly ringing.
No worries.
So what is your most memorable car breakdown on the road or track?
See, you don't have enough track events yet. Usually it's easy.
Oh, but I do have some breakdowns on the track.
Do you?
I remember the one, the cabin filled with dense white smoke.
Oh, that's true.
You may remember that adventure. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I had another one where the car suddenly died on the track, and it actually turned out that it was because I did not fit very well in the car, and my knee had hit the key in the ignition and turned the car off.
That's fantastic.
On the track. That was great. In another instance, the rear diff let go as I was leaving pit lane. I didn't even get to the blend line, and the car just stopped and made one of the worst noises I've ever heard a car make. But fortunately, no harm done to anything besides the diff. Out on the road, I don't know. I've had a handful of flats. I ran out of gas once. Everyone has to do that in some time in their life.
I remember back when we used to have poor answers like these. You need to race more. These are that's a Monday.
Yeah, I'm hoping to avoid the spectacular fireball crash.
Oh no, those aren't fun.
Fully aware that the possibility exists. Otherwise, we wouldn't wear all this great safety gear, would we?
Oh no, for sure.
So if you can only daily drive and race cars from one decade in the past, what decade would you choose?
Probably the
Rest of your life.
1990s.
90s.
Yeah, I think the 1990s. Yeah, I have a real. I mean, I just feel like you're likely to get. That answer is likely to be the decade during which your guest came of age. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not always going to be that way, but when you're between 10 and 20 years old, and you're starting to find your sweet spot for cars, like you're looking at the ones out there and they're all just stellar. And I like the design aesthetic of the 90s too, before things got really swoopy and super, extra curvy. There was still some sort of sharp edges in the 90s that I liked a lot. Not quite as many as in the 80s, but
yeah, I even had sharp edges in the 90s. Come on, that was funny. People laugh anyway.
he's laughing. Look, I don't know if you see this guy.
I'm laughing on the inside.
Absolutely. Okay, so the question that no one else will ask: Jeremy, Hammond, May, Matt, Chris, other.
James May. May or Hammond. I appreciate Hammond's childish enthusiasm for life. But May has got just a lovely, sort of thoughtful style about him. I think I appreciate his attitude.
I see.
Was that the wrong answer?
No, not at all.
One of the favorite answers is who? Anyway.
Where would your ultimate road trip be from and to, and in what car?
You could have a different one the next time you're on.
If everything in the road trip was going to go hunky dory, right?
Always.
Then I would love to drive from tip to tail, from somewhere way out in Alaska all the way down to wherever it is that Chile. Wraps up. That would be a great drive. But assuming everything went hunky dory.
And you had police escorts in certain areas.
Yeah, sure, exactly. What vehicle? I've just again, you're going to need you're going to need like a Land Rover to do something like that. But let's just assume you could take any vehicle you wanted. I love station wagons, and I don't know, any kind of big ballsy station wagon, maybe a BMW 5 Series or.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what your Subaru station wagon we were talking about. So.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, certainly a Subaru wagon could do good too, because the all-wheel drive would be helpful. I don't know, but if you haven't done the cross-country road trip, now might not be the perfect time to do it, but it is a rite of passage that I think every American ought to go through. And I did it when I was a year out of college in a Subaru station wagon, and just had the time of my life.
You know what? I highly recommend that you look up One Lap of America after we get off.
Oh, it's like it's an event, right? It's
yeah. And
it's like it's a cross between the Gumball Rally and maybe I don't know what, but it's
you go from racetrack to racetrack, and you get on the track.
Do you do a track day at each track, or you just do a little sort of parade lap?
No, you go.
You do a track day. Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah. But boy, talk about an endurance race.
And you're only allowed one set of tires.
That's an endurance. No.
Yeah, and bring everything with you. Period. That's it.
One set of tires. That's Then the track. Then you are on parade laps on the racetrack.
Well, no, depends what tires you have.
How many tracks? I can't believe that. I guess people do it though.
It's on my bucket list for sure. Wow. I haven't talked Vicki into it yet.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep. That's a good one.
All right, Miss Jen, your favorite
car movie or car from a movie of all time?
Smokey and the Bandit.
Bandit.
Couldn't be. It could not be anything else. It could not be anything else.
Did you watch the whole series?
You can ask him.
Oh, all the movies? Yeah, they get bad. Oh man,
they get really bad, don't they?
Oh, well, let's
bad.
Let's go with the first question. Do you know how many are in the series?
At least 3.
Yeah.
Nope.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
they
I
progressively
think
get
there's
worse.
7.
Yeah.
They do.
They're
The
bad.
second
but
one was
they-
okay, and then it's just all over.
And then it
second
but it
one was okay.
progresses. It gets
we
worse.
we dropped off at Bandit.
Oh,
It's literally the title.
yeah. It's like sort of exponentially worse, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
not just one
Yeah.
step worse. It's 10 and then
Oh, yeah.
100 and then 1,000. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It
And
just
what
keeps
car
dropping.
from a movie? I don't know what car from a movie. I mean, you could just go with the Trans Am from that, but
Could be TV too. We accept TV.
TV too. I don't know. Gosh, I don't know. Any car, yeah.
I've heard that from you before. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll let you
It's
slide.
okay.
I don't know.
We could just leave it at that.
We got lots of questions. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You're
What
you're
is-
only halfway.
Oh, there's more. The
I know.
pink Supra from Fast and the Furious is what I'm going to go with.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never saw you for a pink super
Iconic.
kind of guy, but
Supras are great, and I like hot pink. In fact, one of my 900cc sport bike was black and pink.
nice.
Good
All
color
right.
combo.
You may or may not have an answer to this. We're just trying to get a shopping list for when we go around. Do you have a favorite or best backcountry road?
Yeah.
Perhaps
You know,
could-
and I don't know, because it's like you tell somebody about these roads. And,
nobody listens to
all
our
of a sudden-
podcasts, sir.
All right, fair enough. fair enough.
Stop.
No, I always thought that it would be a fun, I don't know, app or website or something that you could go to and you punch in your zip code, or I guess you just give the site control of the GPS on your phone. It figures out where you are. And then other people can kind of like mark stretches of road that they like. And what are they good for? Are they dirt road? Are they good trail road? Is it?
I have 4 of those apps if you need them.
Oh, okay. So I'm behind the 8 ball on this one. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, and again, there's a road near where I grew up as a kid, and I'm sure that's how most of these answers start. Runs along a river. It's the sort of long way to get from my house into the sort of big town near where I live. There's a main roadway you can get there, but you go the back way across down along the river, and it's just this phenomenal winding road right along a river the whole way. Great turns, and just beautiful scenery, especially in the autumn when the leaves turn.
There's a really nice one out here.
Right
I
now.
can show you. It's 8 miles of pure fun. It's awesome.
Nice. And I've never drove. Have you guys been to the Deals Gap, the Dragon?
No. Down in North Carolina?
That's
Or
yeah,
around
right,
here?
right.
Yeah,
That's
I have. Yeah.
No, down in North Carolina. You have. Okay, so that's seems like it's probably a little touristy, but also seems like it's one of those things you probably got to do if you're a car guy. Haven't done that yet.
Mhm.
Good drive.
So-
Lots of
so,
good roads down there.
What car would you love to switch into that you are currently racing or raced in the past against? And at what racetrack? That's kind of a far-fetched one.
Wait,
Yes.
say it again. No, I like far-fetched. Tell me what you mean.
He likes far-fetched.
He's on our podcast. He's got
I know.
to be a little off, you know.
What car would you love to switch into that you were currently racing against?
Or was that a
Oh.
racetrack in the past? You know, it could be anything.
Like if I had a back and forth with somebody,
like if you could
and I
pick
could
their
be in
head
their
up
seat
out of the
for
car
that.
and jump in, yeah. And what track?
He's so fresh.
well,
I know, but still,
I've raced at literally one track. So at pit race, I wish I could.
no.
be.
But you could have. You went to Watkins Glen. You went to NJMP. I mean,
yeah,
done
but
that.
those were.
You could grab those cars and race them. Just because you weren't doesn't mean you can't.
When I was at NJMP, there was one car in my run group that was passing me pretty reliably, and it was it was one of these. Come on, the 3-seater car with the seat in the middle.
There's-
McLaren. It was a newer
F1?
McLaren.
Oh, the newer one. Okay.
It was a newer one. It was, banana yellow or something like that. And it was in my rearview mirror pretty much the whole time. Just, it was lapping me like crazy. That would have been a fun car to drive that day, I'm sure. But I don't know. I had a blast in the car I was in, and I would just as soon be back in that car.
There's no wrong answer. All of them are good.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. What car, if any, would you want to wipe away from history?
I can say this with confidence because I spent a pretty fair amount of time driving one.
We've never had to start with that answers with.
Never.
I love answers to start with. I can say this with confidence.
This car
You know,
needs to die.
Yeah, it really does. I've been working at radio stations since I was 20, and typically a radio station will have a station vehicle, which they arrange with a local car dealership to sort of maybe, the dealership trades the value of the car for advertising, and it kind of works like a lease a little bit. So we had a PT Cruiser, and my God, that thing was rubbish. I mean, it was just the worst.
They used to, and everybody was raging about them when they first came out. It was like a throwback to something.
Oh, forget it. Yeah, it's like great. It looks kind of cool, but it just drives like trash. And it was just every little piece of trim just kind of fell apart, and it was awful. I mean, it was so ugly too. There was nothing redeeming about it.
Especially
I would happily erase the PT Cruiser. All of them. Yeah.
So what's your favorite track so far?
I think Pit. I really think Pit Race is just fantastic.
It's my favorite.
I've really enjoyed it. Lots of elevation changes, lots of real fast moments. But apparently it's not even that fast of a track, but it feels fast, I guess I would say.
Was it your first track?
There's a lot going. I don't know.
Oh,
no, first track was New Jersey Lightning.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was a fun track.
Yeah. Did you do Thunder yet?
But I really liked Pit.
Thunderbolt?
I have not done Thunder.
Okay.
No.
I get them mixed up. Which one's a small one?
Lightning.
Okay. You'll like Thunder.
Thunderbolt. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite turn yet?
He
so
raced
far?
the dog.
He did. He did.
What?
I was wondering how long it was going to take for Vicki to realize which track that was. Yeah.
We call it racing the dong.
Oh yeah, it totally looks like a yeah. Absolutely. I was like, hey, I've seen this before somewhere.
They always
on a bathroom stall.
they try and make it not so obvious by putting it like upside down and stuff, but no.
We know what it is.
We're just surprised you were dumb enough to build it.
Favorite turn I've actually I think I do have one. It's on Pit Race, and I wish I knew the number turn. I don't know what.
Just tell me what you're doing. Are you going down the hill and up the hill?
It's on the way. It's a right-hand turn going downhill onto the back straight.
Downhill onto the back straight? That's 12, 13.
Downhill. Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, the back straight is two straight sections connected by a curve that is, a flat out turn. Well, in the car I was in.
Yeah, there's two turns.
But as you go down
around, yeah.
You go sort of uphill, and then you kind of come downhill and to the right. Yeah. And that turn, the way I want to say, if you do it right, because that's stupid for me to say, but the way I was doing it, that worked for me, where I could stay flat out on the throttle. You start turning before you see where the turn is going, and you just have to have faith that the road is going to be underneath your car as you start to kind of roll up onto the red and white curbing as you go downhill.
Yep.
And if you commit to it and you have faith that the turn will be there, you can just remain flat out. And I was watching guys tap the brakes going around that turn, and I was thinking, like, what the hell are you guys doing? You can just flat out through this thing, as long as you have a little faith that the road will be underneath you. And it's a really cool feeling when you go through it and the road is actually there.
It is. You can choose something off. There's a few things next time we go to Pit Race, which I'm going to try to talk you into going in July. Next time we go to Pit Race, I'll show you a couple things that you can use.
I'll be there in April. Are you guys going to be there in April?
Which series? Lemons?
Lemons.
Yeah, we'll be there. That's our first race this year.
He's going to be at Pit.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Miss Jen.
Right. Next question is, in your opinion, how much of racing or driving is learned and how much is natural skill?
I think a lot of it is, I don't know if natural skill is quite the right word, but like, I got into shooting clay pigeons several years ago, and you hang around guys that do this all the time, and they're talking about the lead, and they're talking about all these different little Yeah, and what I found worked the best whenever I was trying to explain to somebody how to do it was just bring the gun up, point it at the bird, and make it happen. Just do it. And I think that you can detail to death every single square inch of asphalt on a racetrack. And I think that once you get really good at this kind of thing, that becomes an appropriate way to focus your energy. But I really think that there's something instinctual about car control, and you kind of either get it or you sort of don't. And I think you can probably learn it, but I think that the people who are naturally good at this don't read books about it. They just kind of get out there and do what feels right. And once you can start timing yourself too, you have a little bit of a feedback mechanism. And I know now they also have all these like crazy things you can clip on to, G-force meters, so you can see how tight you're turning the car and how much more potential it has to turn. But I just think that there's a huge amount of instinct that comes into this.
Okay.
So, getting off the racing just a little bit, we have this magical ability, and we can give you a gift. We can give you 2 gifts. What, if we could give you the gift of hearing a song for the first time, what song would you want to hear for the first time?
Like a song that I've already heard a million times.
Yep. But now
like
you don't.
You play
you
it
don't
for me,
know.
and it's as if I've never heard it before.
Correct.
Happy Birthday to You.
Okay. That's a new one. All right. Same thing, but it's a movie.
Ooh, a movie I've never seen before, and you show it to me for the first time. Oh.
Like you could see a comedy movie that you don't know any of the jokes, or you could see a mystery movie and you don't know what happens, or
Team America World Police.
wow. I don't think
You ever see that one?
Yes.
That's the South Park guys doing marionette puppets.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're well. All right. Miss Vicki, as she
Okay.
shakes her head over my stupid questions.
I just don't know where some of these questions go with him. I don't know. As far as your driving and racing, what is something that you are relatively good at? What is the area that you enjoy the most about the driving?
Writing checks.
Okay,
That's
there's that.
That's Garage Heroes.
That's
works.
about it, guys.
Okay.
It's Garage Heroes.
about it.
HEROES.
How about this?
OES.
What areas do you think need a bit more focus or work on?
Oh yeah, I mean, everything.
I mean, in your
I don't know.
in
It's
your
just,
personal driving, what do you think that you find you're particularly good at so far that you've?
And it's relative. You're not a 10 on the scale of absolute,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Like for me,
I liked. Yeah,
they usually send me out early because I'm a conservative driver in the beginning. I keep the car alive when I go out.
yeah, right. Yeah, you get it warmed up. Yeah.
In the testosterone fest that is Saturday.
Yeah,
night.
I have to navigate the testosterone fest as everybody hits the pedal on 140 of them take off.
And it's not
I
that you're
think,
the ultimate. It's just
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. All I want to say is like, oh, I'm the worst at everything, and I'm a terrible driver, and everyone should just blow by my. But I was really pleased with, my attention to the importance of, kind of maintaining speed and holding momentum and not touching the brakes when you don't have to, and not even lifting off the throttle if you don't have to, and seeing the dividends of that at the end of a straightaway. When I get to pull away from somebody who did just, and it's amazing how much momentum you lose just by lifting off the throttle in a high speed section.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do?
So
how did you do when you were going down into 6 and 7, where you're going down into the hole and coming back out? Were you able to
that was
those?
tough. I screwed that up every single time. I think that's a big downhill into a big uphill turning right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I screwed that up every time.
In your car, especially, you just don't have the torque. If you mess it up, you are on that hill coming out.
And I messed that up every time. And I think that one of the things I need to work a lot on is, braking, how much faith I have in the brakes. And ultimately, the goal is you lead into kind of like a trail breaking situation. And I see the benefit of that, and that's something you kind of read about, and that's great. You can read all about it, but until you start doing it and feeling it, all the studying up in the world isn't going to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
So once I get to there, I'll be great to do, but I'm not expected to get there overnight.
No, well, like I said, these are all relative.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the area that you need the most work and focus on?
It's probably breaking. I don't know. I just, it's obviously your inclination as a newcomer is to break early. You don't want to find yourself running out of track, but you need to. I think it just takes a lot of experience and time to start to feel really truly how much pedal is there, how much brake bite is there, how long you have to be on the brakes.
And it's hard because you're doing, a new car relatively often.
Yep. Right. Yeah. You don't have that luxury of really getting to intimately know the car.
Yeah. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so what are you currently working on, Adam, for the upcoming race season?
You have your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I've basically the team that I've kind of chosen to rent from has released their available dates. I've picked the dates that I want to go. We're already confirmed for the first date in April at Pitt.
We'll see you there.
I am trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, you will. You'll see me. You'll see me in your rear view as you blow by me, and I predictably stay exactly where you expect me to stay.
Are you? You're in the BMW.
I believe I'll be in the green BMW.
We're not going to blow by you very much. We're going to be working on.
Oh, cool. Okay. I'll be working on some weight saving modifications. I'm trying to lose a little weight. We'll see if that works out or not, but every pound counts
For sure.
But part of my MO here is to not have a lot of work to do on this stuff. I want to drive the car. I'm not working on a car right now. I don't have to get the brakes sorted out and bleed the this and change that and troubleshoot X, Y, and Z before this thing is ready to go. I just have to show up. And that pleases me to no end. I'm so glad to not have a project right now.
Mm-hmm. So, how can our listeners find you, keep in contact with you, follow you?
Well, I've got a Facebook page and I'm on it pretty often. That's probably the best way to find me. And I get up to all kinds of cool adventures besides driving around. So just Adam Owens on Facebook is how you'd find me. And by all means, send me a friend request. Let's stay in touch. I've got this sort of growing contingent of car friends, which has been great. And if they want to listen to me on the radio, they actually can. I've got a morning show 5 days a week, and the radio station that I'm on has a web stream and also even a smartphone app. So you could listen on a Alexa or on your iPad or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the station is just 95.3 DNH. And it's out of Honesdale, Pennsylvania. It's sort of a small town, kind of in the vicinity of Scranton, PA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. We're both in the vicinity of Scranton, and unfortunately, we're farther apart than either one would imagine. Since Scranton,
we're close enough, but far enough away too. I mean, it's it's weird.
It is.
It's more than a stone's throw, but less than a crow's flight. I don't know.
That's right. Well, Adam, we do appreciate you coming on. Look forward to a post-COVID situation where hopefully you drop by the garage to watch us work and maybe bring some bagels. I've seen some bagel action on the interwebs and very jealous.
Oh yeah.
So you gave us a very good.
I'll bring some camp uppies. Cool. And I think that there are a lot of people who want to do this, but there are barriers in the way, and very often that barrier is the sort of technicality issue of owning or maintaining or transporting a car. And I just want to say, bless the hearts of the folks out there who are renting seats in race cars and who are renting cars for track days. You guys are instrumental in making this awesome activity more accessible to more people.
Oh,
And it really is a good way to kind of dip your toes in the water to see if you like it. Then you don't have to go through all the prep and effort. You can try and maybe rent a car for even an HPDE day just to kind of get familiar. And there's really no reason not to.
Anybody can do it now.
Yeah. And I mean,
Well, thanks so much for having me on, you guys.
No worries. You're
Thank
always
you.
welcome. And we will
you.
see you at Pit Race and maybe some more. And someday you may get the vaunted, in my mind, Garage Heroes in Training team member sticker. Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
That's right.
yeah.
These are fought.
One can only hope.
These are fought by less than a dozen people.
By two, sometimes even three people.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Would you rather fight one giraffe-sized Garage Hero driver or 12 little Garage Heroes chicken size? Anyway, thank you, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I think it went well.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Dominating with Dawson.
Guess who's back? Ben Dawson,
Hello.
Vicki,
Hey, Ben.
and
Hi.
and Jen.
Howdy. All right.
Very well. We're back again for one of our Racing 101 segments. So, assuming that you get out there and try, a lot of people are going to get out there and go to an HBDE or track day or maybe an autocross as their first ever, hey, let's see what this performance driving thing is like. And then, obviously they're going to like it. I mean,
Right.
I haven't ever met anybody who didn't.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that you got to take into account when you go from the one or two cars on the track at a time to when you go to like a wheel-to-wheel situation. Or you could be idiots like us and go out and do wheel-to-wheel for your first ever time on track.
Well, you've learned some lessons that way.
It's not the preferred path that we know now, but it was a lot of fun. We did it, but maybe
It's funny. Like I came into all this with the I guess supposition that I needed to have like all this training and all this sort of things before I could ever go wheel to wheel with anybody. And that was after I'd started doing go-kart racing, just immediately like out there banging off all these go-karts. And then when I got to cars, for some reason I had a reset where like, I'm going to have X amount of training before I can ever even think about going to comp school or trying to get some sort of race license. And then somewhere along there, after I'd been doing track days forever and instructing, I kind of got waylaid into endurance racing. I was like, oh, I can just go do this.
See, there you go, thinking again, Ben. That's why you stopped it.
Weird. That's why I stopped.
So ladies, what are some of the things that come to mind that are different when you're doing like an autocross or an HPDE versus going out there and having cars that are really wheel to wheel with you? What should somebody be prepared for?
It's not as structured
No.
at all.
It's something like flying in a bee's nest.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot of inputs. Well, you have to have a lot of spatial awareness. Lots of it. You have to have lots of concentration. I would have to say. And
mentally tiring.
It is. It is, but it's also very exhilarating because, in your moments of extreme focus, you can really start to feel what your car is doing because you're spending longer time on the track. So the extent of improving your driving in, say, an endurance race or on a circle track or however, versus the quicker sprint races or
autocross.
Yeah, or the autocross. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of like in and you're done, and then you have to wait. But HPDEs are kind of the same way. You're in for 20 minutes, and you really don't get that experience or that feel for the car unless you go for something much longer and have seat time. You need the seat time. You need extended seat time.
True. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, it is completely different. It's definitely, but not in a bad way.
No,
not
in
just
a bad way.
It's just different.
Yeah. It's like driving on a highway and driving on a highway in rush hour.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and it being unstructured is part of what makes it exhilarating and fun, and but I kind of feel like there's a need for both.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm in a place and a need for both.
Cross training.
I think you should do it all.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
good to practice. You should definitely
bit of it.
practice, right? The race is the game, and you practice before a game, right?
That's right.
What do you think, Ben? You've done more of this than all of us added up. So what do you think would be something to prepare somebody that you're helping out going from the basically by yourself on the track to a bunch of cars out there? If somebody said, hey, what do I need to look for at my first race? What are you thinking? Are you saying look out for me, or are you saying something else?
No, I'm thinking that's a good question because it's been so long. We've all the people around me have been doing this, so I can't think of what I would say about them. But
What
I'm
about
trying to think
Danielle?
back.
She's relatively new, right?
Right. I'm trying to think back to exactly what we told Danielle, and it's what I think we tell everybody that kind of runs with us for the first time. But it was actually Danielle's first race also, and we were so excited to have her come run with us, and she eventually joined the team. And I was, because I had been Danielle's track instructor a few times, and she, through all that we became pretty good family friends. And then once we realized that we were going to have a chance to get her in the race car, we were really excited. And she was pretty apprehensive. I think she'd never run the North Course at VIR before, and there's plenty to be worried about, I guess. If it's your first race, there's a lot of things you've never run wheel to wheel, and like we're talking about, these are some different concerns. You probably never pulled a pass on somebody that wasn't prearranged if you've only done track events or something like that. So you're out there, you're thinking about, I'm going to be out there passing people who don't agree to it. How's this going to go? So there's plenty of things to be worried about. And the main thing that we told Danielle when she was going to get in our car and drive was that we wanted her to have fun and enjoy it. So we just tried to do everything we could to make her feel comfortable and let her know that we were excited for her to be in the car, and we kind of told her about the foibles of the car, so she wouldn't have to be worried about, am I doing this right in traffic? Our car, every endurance car pretty much has like a do this, don't do that kind of thing. Like you guys have the truck where it's like, don't ever think about getting in fifth gear. I'm sure we had some stuff going on with our car, so we were trying to do everything we could to let her know how driving that day was going to be. But ultimately, we wanted her to have fun and be comfortable out there. So that was our biggest concern. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think one of the things that people may be worried about is, especially if they're on a team, like if they go to win some racing or they go to garage racing training, they may be worried about failing the rest of their team. But I don't have any expectations. If this is your first time racing, I don't care if you pass anybody.
Our expectation was that we were going to get a race with a buddy who we've been at the track with for years and years, who was finally going to get to realize a huge dream, and we were going to be the people who got to let her jump in our car. We were so excited about that. I mean, nothing else mattered to us except for having a good time with a buddy.
Did you care what position she came in?
No, we didn't care what position we came in. It was important that we got to go do this with a friend who had never raced before. Then we got to be the team Danielle raced with for the first time. That's what we care about.
That's right. So all the pressure, all the stress, all the performance anxiety that you have going out on your first ever wheel-to-wheel track is coming from you.
Yeah.
Rest of us don't care.
You got to kill. You got to kill. You have to kill the loser in your head, because there's no loser. If you're at the track, you won by getting there. Have a good time.
In spite of all our best efforts, there's still very few people who get out there and do racing.
Right.
Yep.
Just look at our podcast downloads.
Yeah. Don't say that.
That's all right. Hi, Mom. Anyway.
Hi, Mom. Oh.
Sad part is she doesn't listen either. But anyway, anything else? Any tips or words of wisdom we could give to somebody going out there first time wheel to wheel?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk through some of the stuff. Some of the first things you experience when you go out there. Let's just kind of walk it out. So, the first time you get strapped into the car, probably likely that you're going to get strapped in the middle of a race, because it's unlikely that most teams will start somebody who's brand new. A lot of times, the person who is financially responsible for the car, if they're driving, a lot of times they'll go out and take it out because they're the person who's fixed all this stuff and they want to make sure everything works, especially if they haven't had a chance to test. Just a guess that if it's your first time driving, you might be getting in the middle of a stint. So
the first hour endurance race can be somewhat of
like a total joy, like a mayhem filled free for all, which is where I live. Like that's put me in, coach.
too much testosterone for the.
I love a start. I always want to start me up. But yeah, like that. But that's for idiots like me. So anyway, so say Ben Dawson brings the car in and Bill's getting in next. What happens, Bill?
Well, most of the time you're going to do it in the hot pit area. So,
right.
So your communication is somewhat limited because you should have your helmet down and the car should be very loud going by. So you're not going to be able to talk very much.
Right. So even before that, you've had to put on all your safety gear and get ready because the team has told you, hey, in 5 minutes you're going to get in. So you've probably needed to go to the bathroom.
Yep. Always
you've been so hydrated that you're ready to hit the head right before you get in the car. So make that one last bathroom run. They tell you, hey, it's going to be 20 minutes and you realize it's about 15, 12 minutes. That's when it's time to go run to the bathroom, do it, come on back. If you got to do both, give yourself an extra 10 or whatever, but get your bathroom stuff done. Come on back, get all your safety gear on comfortably. Don't be rushing it.
And don't give yourself plenty of time.
Right? Yeah, that's frowned upon. I think it's frowned upon. I don't think I've ever done it to anybody or myself, but I would if I was winning a race. If I was winning a race, I would.
We can wash it later.
Yes, that's right. They can always wash those things out, hose it out. It's just a race car. But so we were just backing it up a little bit to where you've gotten ready, you've got all your gear on, you're calm, you're remembering to breathe, and then you hop over the wall as you see your car come in, and there goes Bill.
Yep. So if I'm next to get in, I'm going to help the prior driver get out, and then
how do you do that?
Make sure the belts are loose, make sure the net's down. Usually I'll grab them by the shoulders and haul them out.
Radio. Well, we yank that radio cord out. That's something. One thing that always comes up in pretty much every endurance pit stop is like, oh my gosh, I forgot to yank the radio out. So that's something to always think about. Is always make sure you got that radio cord before anybody makes any big movements, because yanking that whole deal out can be rough, and you may not have a radio the rest of the time.
Yeah, we try and get the driver to do it coming in.
Right.
So it's already done.
Yeah, hopefully your team is giving you little tips as you come in, like, hey, make sure to loosen the belts enough for the next driver. It's good to talk to your driver on the way in, so hopefully they've been doing that.
And then, at least for our team, the next driver, that's all they do. They wait to get in the car. They are not the gas person or the fire extinguisher person.
Hopefully you got enough people that your only job is just to get in the car.
Just because you're focused on driving and stay in the moment. Then you hop in, you tighten down the seatbelts, you put your seatbelts tighter again, you put your seatbelts tighter again.
Somebody's helping you with your belts usually, right?
Yeah, usually you put your hands on the wheel and just be prepared to be groped.
Yeah, it's a great time to be touched. If you like to be touched, this is going to be a good time.
Yeah.
But in some cases you might feel for it, and you while everybody else is doing other stuff around you, if you're sitting there in the seat and you don't have anything else to do, you can start trying to feel your belts out. You might be able to kind of pick up your lap belts or something and get started. So, but nobody's going to be like, hey, you need to get your belts done all by yourself. You get a little help with your belts and get settled into the car. So pretty much all you got to do is get going.
Yeah, if you're sitting on it, you can usually get it out, but try not to. And then then you just wait for somebody to bang on your car a couple times saying we're all good to go, and you're clear, because you can't see everything in the pit with all the cars going by. There's a lot of stuff going by. And then you go out on track and make sure you stay inside the pit lane speed, and then you stay inside the blend line, and then do the best you can. Probably not, if it's your first time going out, you're not going to be out there for 3 hours.
And different groups have different procedures for leaving the pit and getting onto what they call the hot track, or where the competition is happening. So just pay attention in the driver's meeting. That's a big part of your endurance experience is going to be going to the driver's meeting, where they'll talk about, these are the rules for a local yellow. Some groups are, you might be under the control of the yellow as soon as you can see it. Some groups might be you're under the control of the yellow as soon as you're passing that station. It just have to really pay attention to the little minor details. It's not to be intimidating, but you just want to be accurate so you understand what's happening. If you're to the point where you're about to start racing, hopefully you've got some of that terminology in your head, so this is going to make sense to you when you hear it in the driver's meeting. But you got to make sure you go to the driver's meeting.
And most places will have a rookies meeting on top of it.
Sure.
Which you definitely should go to. And
so, when we talk about that we're talking about, I think with Lemons, you kind of drive down near the exit onto pit lane, and they'll stop you and check your belts and make sure everything's squared away. I think with Champ Car, you stop your car on the way in and get a timer, and then you stop your car on the way out, and they check your timer and your belts. And I think you definitely with AER, they have like a RFID station. You kind of slow down to 5 miles an hour and roll through at either end, and that's kind of their pit regulation. It's my understanding, but those are all pretty different approaches. So you want to make sure you understand how that works, just so it's not a stressor in the moment. Does that make sense?
Yep. A lot of this stuff is done before you're getting in, you know.
Yep.
And then just go out there and have fun. And if you start to feel your mind wander, you should have been out of the car already.
Yeah, it's always okay to come in. That's definitely something we should talk about here, because we've had plenty of people come race with us, and just be out there and be like, I'm not feeling good. I want to bring it in, and then of course on the team is happy. It's like, but also definitely bring it in because it's we're gonna make a little bit of fun of you as you're laying down on the ground, and the next person gets in. I'm talking about this has happened to a Navy SEAL who came and raced with us at AMP, active duty Navy SEAL. So it can be tough on anybody. So this guy had to get out and lay down for him. I think he had to get out and lay down for about an hour or something like that.
What was he getting, like motion sickness or something?
No,
or did he drink too much the night before?
No, he stressed himself out.
He did his whole stint, but this is a track that's really in the mountains and real steep and curvy. And some people get motion sick from even driving it. But we were doing this in the middle of June. In a Miata we didn't have a cool suit or anything.
Oh yeah, that would do it.
So it was a combination of things where like I'm out there just like because I'm used to it, but he got out. He was like, and then my other teammate had the same effect. But I say all that to say, it can be rough. You got to take care of that stuff.
But I do have to say that I actually, for the first time in extreme heat, tried the cool suit. What a difference!
It's great. I love it when I get to use it, but I'm too cheap to ever put it in anything I own.
Oh my gosh. What race did we use that for, Bill?
I've never used it.
No, when we actually had it hooked up.
Okay, let me try again. I've never used it.
But that time you used it, though. When you used it, Bill?
We did.
Those multiple times you've used it?
Never used it.
Come on, Bill.
All right. Hey, Bill. When was the last time that we had the cooler strapped in the car? How about that question?
Remember when the cooler was in there?
No. I don't.
Which car? Is it the E36?
Couldn't have been. It must have been. Was it at Lucky Dog or was it the year before? I don't remember doing it.
I remember it was just a viciously hot day.
No, that was probably Thompson the year before then.
I didn't do that, Thompson. But
regardless, New Jersey.
It is nice. As soon as you
I think it was New Jersey.
Those cold
I was too busy
replacing
replacing the windshield. I never got in that car. Remember somebody drove away with the hood pins out? Who looked like me?
Yep.
Whoops.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be why I don't remember. Okay.
But a cool suit can be very nice.
Oh my gosh!
I was going to say, sorry. I was going to say if you run them, there's kind of two different ends. So there's you can get you can make yourself an adapter. So you got one that works for either type of end, because it's like the fast shirts have one style and the cool shirts have a different, something like that.
It's awesome.
But you can go to a McMaster car and get some tubing and little adapter ends and make it for yourself.
And a bilge
learn.
pump.
Yeah, go learn.
Yep. So don't stress yourself out. Just go have fun. Nobody's expecting anything except you. So just relax.
And definitely bring it on in if you're feeling like jump, bring it on in, because the point is to go have fun. And nobody's like, nobody's gonna be mad if you don't make it the whole way. We're gonna be mad if you get fatigued and wreck the car. Not really, but still. Right. That's what would happen if you go out and push yourself too hard and go too far and start to sort of space out. By then, like Bill said, it's way too late. So you have to really be use discretion, because it's tough. The first time you go out racing, it's going to take a lot out of you, and you're going to be asleep by 6:30 that night.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Vicki, your first stint was?
I don't remember.
30 minutes.
28 minutes.
30 minutes.
Well, I think it was 30 minutes because we had set it up for 30 minutes.
Well,
but then we realized that the 30 minutes was just a real pain because we were spending all of our time just in and out, in and out, in and out. I'm like, we got to go longer. Yeah, that was a lot of work in the pit.
It was. You never got out of your suit, though.
No, and the paddock was a nightmare. But then we started going longer stints and everything calmed down. Mm-hmm. And in the paddock. Constant rotations every half hour, which is in a paddock area, just creates chaos.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I think mine was 30 minutes because we just decided. And now our team rule is 45 minutes or less. And I think Jen did
45 minutes or less?
for the first time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then Jen, I think yours was 9 laps or something. So yours was like 20, 25 minutes because it was
short.
it was also foggy and rainy and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of fine gear.
yeah.
Fine clutch pedal, fine
We
gear.
didn't exactly give her the best of car that day either. So
Right.
It's all okay. It's just more hurdles to overcome emotionally and mentally. That's all.
Emotionally and
I mean,
mentally.
you just keep throwing them up there. It's just,
why
Are
doesn't
you
why-
raising the bar.
I think you're low key accusing him of emotional and mental abuse, which is super cool. I love that. That's great. I accuse him of that sort of thing all the time too.
It's like, why doesn't this 1984 Mustang drive like a 2017 BMW?
That's what you were
Wait a
driving.
minute. No, it was the stick shift.
That's what I
Because I'm
mean.
like, why is it going side to side now? Because it's supposed to go up and down.
For
I
those
couldn't figure it out.
for those of you playing at home, every stick shift and every clutch is not the same.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Jennifer just happened to find out in the middle of 120 cars in the middle of the rain.
Up trying to go up the hill at New Hampshire. Is that right?
Yeah, no, that was Thompson.
That
New
was
Hampshire
that was a whole
was
other time.
a different debacle.
Yeah.
Jen's got
We'll
some
get
good
there. We'll
stories.
get there, folks.
That's right.
It's all
And if,
right.
and
She's
if you-
come a long way.
it
I
has, right?
have, and
And now-
I'm having a blast.
And
It
now
is-
she's
good.
skidding sideways on a skid pad.
I wouldn't change any of it
That's right.
because
That's great.
none of
Just
it.
think of all the good stories
All
you're
the
going to have
stories I
when we're
have to
old.
tell.
Yeah. Listen to Jen. Go race your first race and have fun. Get on out there. Once you clear the pits, get out there and do what you can do. Take your first pass that somebody didn't want to give you.
And
Or
just in
don't
case,
get passed by a bunch of people.
You just gotta have the guts to get behind the wheel. Just go do it.
That's right.
Just say
And,
yes.
and just in case,
Say yes.
Just say yes.
we would love for you guys to write in with any good stories about your first time getting out on track to garageheroesintraining@gmail.com. And I guarantee we will either have an entire episode of this or we will have the most fun for a different segment going over these things because the best stories come out from the first time you get out there.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
I was passing cars with one wheel on the grass. I was passing like 4 or 5 cars. I was in a very controversial car. It was faster than everybody else. And I was like, I am passing people all over the place. It was like, because it was also wet my first race. So I was like, you either got to pass these guys or I'm going to spin out trying to slow down too much. So had to do it. It was a good time. That's my first time story.
We would expect nothing else from you, Ben. There's a reason why this is not called Dominating with Fisher or Script Check.
Yeah, I showed up ready to roll.
You had a few more races in your repertoire than we did.
Yeah.
So, all right. First time stories, send them in. We'd
Let's
love to hear them.
Yeah, we want to
That
hear
would
about it
be
and
like
talk
a
about
whole episode. That would be awesome.
That would be.
it. We would love to talk about these. Or have you on if you got a great story. We
That's
want to
right.
talk to you in person.
That's right. If we just see something super spectacular, we will send an email response back saying you need to come on because we've got questions.
We will send a carrier pigeon to your domicile.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. That's it for this one. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Uh-oh. I don't know this guy from Adam. Woo.
There's Adam. Look behind him.
He's connecting to audio.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, he sounds
Hi,
all.
Adam.
Hey, everybody.
Sounding
Sounds-
beefy tonight.
That's
I
right.
I actually got my whole studio set up just for this. It's perfect.
Sounds like your balls dropped recently too.
The other one
Oh.
finally did.
Okay, very nice. Very nice.
How you been, Adam?
I've been pretty good. Working from home and yeah, I don't know, just putting miles on my treadmill.
Wish I was. I'm not allowed to have a treadmill. Well, I'm allowed. We just don't have one. Have space for one.
Mine's very small. I got the smallest one you can buy.
Oh, wait,
You like my home security system, by the way?
I do.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. That would scare anybody. If anybody comes knocking on the door, just shove that outside the door when you crack it open. And
can you bring that to Pittsburgh? We might be able to use that.
Sure.
I've got history of driving around the track with things on a stick.
Yeah, no, it's a big, thick, heavy, long stick too. It's a perfect, awesome. Very structurally sound.
That's awesome. We're gonna have to rig that up so it spins. So, Adam, we're in the midst of a 9 or 10 part Racing 101.
Yeah.
And we were thinking we've been doing this a little too long to really represent the first time out.
Yeah.
But you've only got, I think you got 2 races and a couple HPDs, right?
One race. And a couple HPT and a race and a 1-day race school, which is pretty quick, but valuable.
Yeah. So we wanted to kind of introduce you, we're going to do the full introduction, and then like the middle section, we'll go over, how is it like the first couple times out, because you've got it a little fresher in your mind than we do. We think we know what we're doing. You still know for sure you don't know what you're doing.
Right. Oh yeah. No.
So if that sounds good, if not, we don't have a podcast, but that's fine.
No, that's great. And what's our how long we go for here? Like what's the
I'm thinking with this one we're probably going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay.
So you should be able to tolerate us for more than that. You've done it before.
Let's see here. So hang on just a second here. Where's my
I would have thought a radio professional would be more prepared than this, but whatever.
This is funny. There we go. Okay. Noise removal on. Okay. So
that's 3 balls down. Okay. Go ahead.
So So better one, or better two. Any difference?
Two maybe, but about the same.
All right, we'll just leave it like this.
You can tell you do this for like a living or something.
Okay. I just got a new fancy toy and it lets me do a little noise removal thing, but I don't think there's any noise worth removing. So
okay. For me, you're not bouncing too much off the hard surfaces, so you should be fine.
Cool.
Those LPs right there?
Yeah, a whole bunch of them.
Nice.
Wow.
You'd find some stuff you like, I'm sure.
My father used to work for a company that owned radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
Like they owned what is it, CTC, the one that's right over in Pittston.
I guess I don't know it.
And it doesn't matter. But anyway, so we used to have on the big 12-inch vinyls, we had like countdowns recorded, commercials and everything. So it was fantastic.
I've got some of those.
Fantastic.
I've got an episode of Rick D's from One Weekend in 1982 or something.
That's all right. Disco Duck, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, your hand is very large. Hello, hand.
Oh, yes. Hello. Just making sure the adhesive is adhered.
No worries.